What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content that I'm uploading onto my channel, then feel free to subscribe, and you can also offer suggestions on topics and characters and storylines and whatnot that we can have discussions on later on in this channel. So, I gotta tell you guys, Guardians of the Galaxy is an enigma to me, not in the sense of the group itself, of course I know about the group, but with regards to why Marvel would make a Guardians of the Galaxy film. And I thought about this. I sat and I thought about it time and time again, and I asked myself, why would Marvel make a Guardians of the Galaxy film? Because everything that we've seen so far has been confined to the planet Earth, and most of the movies that we will see that are coming up are confined to the planet Earth. The Avengers was confined to the planet Earth. Loki invading with the Chitaurian army, that was a planet Earth event. Captain America was planet Earth. Thor had to do with Asgard, but he spent a majority of his time on the planet Earth, and so everything has revolved around the planet Earth. And so I thought, well, maybe Marvel is taking, the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the stars. Maybe they're taking it to the cosmos. Maybe to just show us that there is a bigger picture here. But that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because Marvel is doing everything in phases. Marvel is doing phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3 and phase 4. And there's got to be an end to this. There has to be a focal point. There's got to be this final storyline that Marvel is approaching with regards to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. In this video, we're going to be answering, or at least attempting to answer the question, what does Guardians of the Galaxy have to do with the Infinity Gauntlet? I just want to get loose when the beat drops. So what would a video about the Guardians of the Galaxy be without an explanation on the Guardians of the Galaxy? So we're going to sum this up really fast, because we've got some cool stuff to talk about in this video. So the Guardians of the Galaxy that we're going to be seeing in the upcoming film is actually the second incarnation of the Guardians of the Galaxy. The first incarnation of the Guardians of the Galaxy was a comic book team that came out in 1969. And this was about a team that fought in the 31st century. Now, they fought different villains and different characters and so on and so forth, but probably the most interesting villain they fought was a guy named Korvac, who was like half man, half machine, basically. But he had the ability to siphon energy from virtually any source. And there comes a point where he kind of taps into Galactus's ship and gains the power cosmic. And as a result of gaining the power cosmic, he can do all kinds of crazy stuff. He's like Silver Surfer, basically, except that unlike Silver Surfer, he can manipulate time and space, meaning he can time travel. The Guardians of the Galaxy are believed to have successfully defeated Korvac in the 31st century with the assistance of Thor in this timeline. But as we learn, Korvac actually travels into the past, and it takes the combined effort of the Guardians of the Galaxy from the 31st century, the Avengers from the 20th century, to successfully defeat Korvac and kind of rid the universe of him once and for good. The current incarnation of the Guardians of the Galaxy team is a team that came along in 2008. And this team came along as a response to the Annihilation Conquest storyline. Now, we're not going to go into the Annihilation Conquest storyline. Suffice it to say that it is this great big huge war that takes place between the Phalanx and the Kree. But the team forms due to their head guy, their leader, Star-Lord, wanting to form a team that is equivalent to a galactic version of the Avengers. And that is basically what the Guardians of the Galaxy are. They are a galactic version of the Avengers. They are a team that comes together to face a galactic threat that no one person can defeat on their own. And they're composed of a pretty unique group of people. Of course, you have Star-Lord, who is their leader. He's a master tactician. He is a master thinker in the realm of military strategy. But he is not super powerful in and of himself. He has a suit that grants him, enhanced strength and enhanced durability and so on and so forth, and he has a gun that can fire the elements of the universe, but with regards to his physical powers, there are a lot of other people who are stronger than him. The second in command to him is probably the character that's going to steal the show as far as I had to burp. As far as the movie goes. And this is Rocket Raccoon. And Rocket Raccoon is the result of genetic manipulation. Of course, the basis for him is a raccoon. And he comes from a planet called Half-World, I think it is, where it's kind of a home for the mentally insane, more or less. But the indigenous species, or the indigenous animals of the planet, were manipulated genetically, so they would have the intelligence of a human being, and they would also retain the traits of their respective organisms. So Rocket Raccoon has all the attributes of a raccoon. That is to say, enhanced hearing, enhanced smell, enhanced sight, so on and so forth. But he also has bipedal movement of a human being, and he has the intelligence of a human being. In addition, he's a superb marksman. He never misses his target. It doesn't mean he's going to kill whatever it is that he shoots at, but it does mean that when he shoots at them, he will not miss. Of course, after that is Groot, and Groot is kind of like this tree-looking thing. And Groot is really interesting because he is kind of this prince among his own people, and so he has a technological level of genius, but it's believed that because he is so astronomically intelligent, and because we are so unintelligent relative to him, we are unable to understand exactly what it is that he's saying. And so whenever he talks to us, it sounds like all he says is, "I am Groot," when in reality, he's probably saying a whole host of other things that we just simply can't understand. After him is Drax the Destroyer. And Drax the Destroyer is a genetically, or not really genetically, he's really kind of a created being. Drax the Destroyer was originally a guy named Arthur Douglas. And Arthur Douglas was an Earthbound person, but he and his family were supposedly killed by Thanos as Thanos was invading or attempting to invade the planet Earth. We learned that Arthur Douglas's daughter actually survives, and she is taken to Thanos' homeworld, Titan, by Thanos' father, Mentor, to be taught and to be raised to become a prodigious fighter. Arthur Douglas himself has a spirit taken from the afterlife, I assume, and put into the body of a newly created being. And of course, this is done at the hands of both Mentor and the In-Betweener. This newly created being is Drax the Destroyer. And Drax the Destroyer, despite having your run-of-the-mill powers, that is to say strength, speed, stamina, durability, so on and so forth, he has a very unique ability. And this ability grants him the power to always locate Thanos, no matter where Thanos is in the cosmos. Now, this is a very big deal, because this makes Drax the Destroyer a very pivotal player in a role whereby Thanos needs to either be tracked down or people need to be removed from the path of Thanos. And we will see this play out later on in Marvel Comics under different scenarios, which we're not going to go into. That pretty much makes up the core group. Now, there are other people that come in and out. There's Gamora and people like that. But suffice it to say, these are kind of the core members of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, to the cool stuff. This is when we see really interesting things happen, because the question becomes, why is Marvel making a movie about Guardians of the Galaxy? This really kind of comes out of left field. Everything that we've seen so far is Earthbound stuff. The Avengers was based on planet Earth. Captain America is based on planet Earth. Loki invaded planet Earth. Thanos was looking to conquer the planet Earth at the end of the Avengers, or at least we assume so, given that his henchman is talking about courting death and so on and so forth. We see a lot of different things take place. We see the Infinity Gems rolling out. We see the Infinity Gem that was in the staff of Loki. We see the Infinity Gem that was given to the Collector at the end of Thor 2. And the Infinity Gems are these gems that represent different aspects of the cosmos, the aspect of the mind, reality, time, space, power, the soul, different things like that. And a person who possesses an Infinity Gem possesses total control over whatever it is that Infinity Gem represents. So the Infinity Gem of time, for example, a person who possesses this gem possesses the ability to master time, and they can do anything with regards to time. They can stop it, they can travel back through it, they can travel forward through it, they can slow it down, they can do any number of things with time. So when you look at this, it's really kind of like, what in the world is going on here? You know, what's happening here? And then I started thinking about it, because I spent all day really kind of asking myself this question. I said, okay, let's sit down, Rob. Let's sit down and let's think about this. Let's ask this question. Why are the Guardians of the Galaxy being featured here? And then I answered myself. This Guardians of the Galaxy film, I think, will be a filler film. This will be a film that will do nothing more than introduce elements that will become important later on down the line. It's like learning chemistry. You learn the first steps of chemistry, and those build on other steps, and those build on other steps. And ultimately, you end up taking a final exam on everything that you've learned. With the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it appears to be the same way with this movie. This movie's main villain is a guy called Ronan the Accuser. Now, Ronan the Accuser is a member of a race called the Kree. Now, the fact that he's part of the Kree isn't important. What is important is the race, the Kree, because this can possibly introduce us to another character that is very, very important to future timelines and future stories that take place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the reason why I say this is important is because I think at this point, it's become obvious that Marvel has really kind of discarded the chronological order of things. And so if we're talking about an Infinity Gauntlet storyline, the Infinity Gauntlet storyline came out chronologically in 1990, 18 years after our introduction, or before our introduction to the Guardians of the Galaxy. So if this is the case, then Marvel might be looking towards future events. And one of these events hails around another member of the Kree aside from Ronan the Accuser. And this guy is Captain Marvel. Now, Captain Marvel is, of course, a member of the Kree, and as a member of the Kree, he possesses the same kind of powers that members of the Kree possess, but he also has abilities that are far beyond that. What those abilities are don't really matter for this discussion. What does matter is that later on in the Marvel Comics, they have a storyline called the Thanos Imperative. And the Thanos Imperative is a storyline whereby a future version of a character named Adam Warlock that we have not been introduced to yet ends up going insane due to his manipulation of the Soul Gem, the Soul Infinity Gem, in addition to some manipulation by the In-Betweener. As a result, he is totally nuts, and he leads a group called the Universal Church of Truth. Now, after the events of the Annihilation Conquest storyline that we had previously mentioned, the result was a rift, a tear in the universe. Now, what was on the other side of this tear, we didn't know. All we knew was that this tear existed, and there had been various groups and entities that had been tasked with guarding this rift to ensure that nothing went through it and nothing came through it our direction. But what ends up happening is the Magus, who is this version of Adam Warlock that's gone insane, shows up at this rift and also teleports a multitude of planets that are composed of people who are faithful to the Universal Church of Truth, and detonates all the planets and tears the rift open. What comes through this rift is the contents of an alternate universe whereby the entity death does not exist, and therefore no one can die. And so life has evolved to extreme degrees. You have all kinds of crazy creatures that exist between universes that now exist in that universe. You have characters like Captain America and Iron Man and different people like that who have not died, and they have just kind of become inherently evil human beings to our perspective. And they instead of forming a group called the Avengers, they now form a group called the Revengers. But in any event, besides all that, we're getting kind of off topic here. What ends up happening is Thanos is taken to meet with this universe's version, or I guess to combat this universe's version of Captain Marvel, who is simply just known as Marvel. And Thanos immediately gives up the fight. The result is kind of a ruse. It is a trick. The entity death from our universe takes Marvel away, and as a result, a chain reaction occurs, meaning that everybody in his universe that hails from his universe that is currently in our universe ends up dying, and his universe ceases to exist. Now, this storyline is unimportant for the most part. Suffice it to say that it could be the possible storyline they might have in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but what is important is that it introduces us to major characters that have huge roles later on if they choose to go this route, and including the Infinity Gauntlet storyline after this storyline takes place. It introduces us to the Magus. It introduces us to Adam Warlock. It introduces us to the entity Death, which Thanos has an affection with, and which Thanos will do virtually anything to gain her affections, including wiping out half the life in the sentient universe when he possesses the Infinity Gauntlet. And it also introduces us to other incarnations of Marvel characters, which is always kind of cool to see. So, if Marvel chooses to go this route, if Marvel chooses to take this road and to head towards this direction, then I think the ultimate storyline will really kind of make sense. And it'll really kind of pull people in and draw people into something interesting. Now, as far as the Infinity Gauntlet storyline itself, that's a discussion we'll have in another video. But suffice it to say, the inclusion of Guardians of the Galaxy in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a huge deal that cannot be understated, because there are so many interesting things that we're going to be able to see take place as a result of their involvement. Now, it could just be that this is a one-shot, and they'll have Guardians of the Galaxy and we'll never see or hear from them again. But because of the fact that Marvel is doing phases, I'm very inclined to believe that not only will we see this team again, but this team's involvement is going to have major ramifications. It's also possible that the Guardians of the Galaxy will be just one of the teams that fights against Thanos when he captures the Infinity Gauntlet. That could very well be the case, in which case all of this is null and void. But it is fun to speculate. So, with that being said, I'm going to bring this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, and if you're not super confused, let me know, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.